Good day everybody. After reading up on the home instance some more, it kinda got me wondering what Anet has planned for the whole thing. That's why I'm making this video, to get some of my opinions out of the way and to address some of the things I'd love to see happen to the home instance. So, for something that was hyped up a lot before the game was released, the home instance doesn't actually do a whole heck of a lot. Right now it's mostly just used for a few personal story missions, and that's about it. Back before the game was released, many of us assumed that it was basically going to be player housing, where stuff would actually happen and change. The most famous example is having to make a choice between the orphanage or the hospital burning down. Right now this is still a personal story kind of thing, but imagine if they'd make it so that after you reach a certain level, you can walk into your personal home instance and an event will trigger, where you're forced to make a decision to help one or the other. Let's say, I'd save the orphanage. In return for your bravery, you get your own statue in the middle of the district. Not only that, but when you return later, you can invest in a new hospital. Besides just rebuilding it, maybe the hospital will give the player a, plus 1% health in the world. Similar to the World vs. World boons. Through small missions like these, you can earn more and more reputation within your home instance. People might begin to recognize you, vendors might give you a discount, traveling bards may rent a room in the inn because they'd like to write a poem about you. The important thing is that it has to feel as if your actions make a difference. When a bard shows up, for example, don't have him simply go, "Oh, hello there, player character. I've heard so much about your heroism, I've come to write you a ballad." Although the dialogue is fine, it should have a reply where you tell him that you think it's a good idea. Then he'll write you a poem based on the achievements you've gathered in-game. So for example, you've got the giant killing achievement. Well, a part of the poem might actually be about how you are the slayer of giants. Now it doesn't all have to be voice acted, but it would be great if you were out in the world and suddenly you get a mail from that bard which contains your ballad. Or perhaps he'll invite you back to your home instance where he will have gathered up everyone in the inn and he'll sing this ballad for you. Right now, not much changes in the home instance. Houses stay empty even after you've invited NPCs to come stay with you. A few NPCs are added here and there, but often these are ones you don't recognize or don't have anything interesting to say. I joined the Vigil, for example. Now there's a Vigil soldier in my home instance. Why is that? Shouldn't he be back at Vigil Keep? Or shouldn't he be sent out to Ore? What is he doing in my home instance? The only use I could see for him is him saying something like, I rented a wagon to head to Vigil Keep, want to come along? And then when you say yes, you get teleported to your faction headquarters. See, then there's a reason for him to be there, and I'd like that. Plus, maybe you'd see your headquarters of your faction a bit more, because I think I've been there twice maybe in total. And well, yeah, I'd love to see it again sometime. Plus it gives me a easier and convenient way to Ore, without having to waypoint there. Right now, you hardly notice a difference in your home instance, which is a shame. You might see one of two NPCs from the personal story, but that's about it. If they want to make the home instance more interesting, which I hope they do, then they're going to have to put in some actual lasting changes in your home instance, which you can influence. Now, with that out of the way, I'd like to move on to ideas and suggestions I'd love to see in the home instance. I'll be putting up annotations so you can jump back or forth between the suggestions on screen. Now first off, the biggest thing I've heard people talk about has to be the player housing. A place you can call home where you can sit down, turn on your town clothing and simply relax for a bit. Remember, 90% of this entire game is fighting, running, jumping, carrying, etc, etc. There are very few moments of rest within the game, which is a shame because it creates some contrast. It's also the reason why some of the more peaceful areas in the world are usually my favorites. But there's a lot of ways you can do player housing. Are you going to go with a very in-depth system like Wildstar or City of Heroes, where you can decide how big your house is, how it is shaped, where you decide where to put every piece of furniture you find and you can rotate it and stuff like that? Or should it be something more similar to the Fable series, where you buy a home and it has 2 or 3 or so stages which you can upgrade? From simple furniture to more fancy furniture to extremely expensive and posh looking. Personally, I think a lot of people would be disappointed if they couldn't put down their own furniture. But the people who aren't interested in spending a lot of time on their homes, they should be able to talk to a designer who, for a fee, will decorate your home and make it look nicely. So now that you've got your house, don't stop there. Give people stuff to interact with inside. Allow players to light the candles, for example. I'd love to see a darker night cycle, even if it's just inside of your home instance. Another idea I've had since the very beginning of the game is a place where you can read your mail. Imagine sitting next to the fireplace, and next to you is a whole pile of boxes of presents, and maybe a large sack full of mail. All of these were sent to you by the people you've helped out in the world. Instead of receiving just 2 silver or something, you might actually receive a mail which contains a kid's drawing of you chasing off bandits from his home. How much more memorable is that hard quest going to be if you have that kid's drawing on your wall inside of your house? Another example, now imagine Christmas. Instead of walking up to an NPC who simply hands you 5 things, why not be forced to visit your home instance, which will be decorated and covered in snow? You can sit down next to the fireplace and open up all the presents that you've got. Heck, maybe add a Christmas tree as a decorative item that you can put down in your home instance or in your house somewhere. I'd love that, that would be cool. Even simple or useless items become worth so much more to you when you are given the time to appreciate them. When you read back in your player's journal, you will see small items in the corner of some of the missions. How great would it be if there were trophies that you could actually display at home? Maybe mount them on the wall or place them in display cases. It would add that touch of personality to your home. Now, it will be impossible to give everyone a unique home, but give them the option to pick a base to start from. This will most likely be an empty house or an empty lot, and maybe you can buy a basic home for 1 gold, or buy a slightly bigger fancy home for 10 gold. Heck, why don't go all out and give players the option to buy a mansion for 100 gold? Now that's something to work towards. Plus, it will give players another money sink to pour money into for the game. Right now, definitely after all these events going on with Scarlet and with the Clockwork Chaos, players have been getting a lot more gold. And well, it's leading to inflation. A way to counter that is by giving players more stuff to invest in. For example, player housing, buying furniture, buying larger houses, buying expansions to your already existing house, stuff like that. Anyways, do you have any ideas or suggestions for player housing? Leave them in the comment section below, I actually love to hear what you have to say. But from there, let's move on to the rest of the home instance. There are a few things that you can apply to make a place more homely without the player having to put any real effort into it. For example, add a fish stall with all sorts of fish. When you talk to the vendor, she'll sell you the regular old food items, but she'll also sell Sarah's red snapper, a consumable you can only get in your home instance because that part of Red Assume or that part of Divinity's Reach is renowned for selling the best red snappers. Now, it doesn't have to do anything special, but knowing that you can get the best red snappers from Sarah already makes the home district stand out just a little bit more from the others. What about a clothing store? A place where you can try on and buy new town clothes. From hats and capes to dresses and shawls. Maybe make half the shop buyable with in-game money and use the other half of the shop to display gem store sets. So, now you've got a place to call home. And you've got things in your home instance that give it flavor. Now it's time to leave your mark. How about being able to invest in your home instance? Eventually you'll get to a point where you've got the best armor and you've got the best weapons and you've got some spare money. Now you could invest this in buying different armor sets, but alternatively, why not give players the option to help expand their home instance? I gave an example earlier about rebuilding the hospital. Someone in your home instance gives you the option to invest in something and it will result in a noticeable change. Maybe a merchant who'd love to set up his jewelry shop, but he needs an initial investment. So you pay him 1 gold and you get a jewelry shop in your home instance. Maybe it can give you like a plus 1% magic find. But heck, it doesn't have to give a boost. Maybe after an event where the water got poisoned, all the trees in your home instance would have died. Now you can just keep it like that and you'll have dead trees all along your home instance, but say you invest 20 silver and they'll plant new trees. Now this doesn't give you a boon, but it will make your home instance look nicer. Right, this video is actually turning out a lot longer than I had planned, so I'm going to cut it short here. Again, leave me a comment in the comment section below. Do you agree with my suggestions? Do you have any ideas yourself? Let me know, I'd love to read them. Now, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.